Okay, this is the review for Fire Force episode 21. So there are two main parts to this episode, the conflict with Dr. Giovanni and Lisa, and then the conflict between Shinra and Sho. I don't think there's too much to talk about with the Dr. Giovanni part. I think it's just kind of the typical anime plot. The one thing that stood out to me was when he told Vulcan to shoot Obi. He said, if you shoot her, Feeler lives. If you don't shoot her, Lisa dies. So I kind of like that because it kind of shows that he's in an impossible situation. If he shoots Obi, Feeler is going to live, and Feeler is her name in the Evangelist. So even if he does what he wants, he's still not going to get her back to his side. And if he doesn't shoot Obi and Lisa dies, then he is going to lose her, lose the person that he knew and that is personal to him. So it's really a lose-lose situation no matter what. So I like the phrasing and the dialogue there. And one thing about Fire Force that's always stood out is the way they use animation and artwork. They always use a lot of still pictures to get their points across. And I think this episode, the artwork really jumped out. I think the first really good one was Dr. Giovanni, where he's hovering over Feeler. I think that artwork is really good. And then another really good picture was with Obi in the chair. So those are two really standout pieces of art in this episode. Also, I really liked how they cut to Shinra when Dr. Giovanni said Shinra's starting to feel the Evangelist, and then they immediately cut to him. I thought that was a really good transition. So with regards to the whole plot of Fire Force, it's kind of a mystery right now. So I'm not really sure what the demon was, and with the art that they had when there was a bigger Shinra over him and he was like bleeding and the blood was kind of lava. I'm not really sure what all that means, but I did think it was really good art, and it just shows that this anime is doing art that other animes aren't, and it makes it unique. And definitely the highlight of this episode was when Shinra and Sho meet and fight. And I really like when they first meet and Sho addresses him as Shinra Kusakabe, because it kind of shows you the disconnect. He uses his last name because he doesn't really see them as brothers at all. And they also get that point across by putting a blue hue over the whole scene. So the blue hue, what it does is it kind of makes everything cold. So you can kind of tell that things are cold between them, there's a disconnect. You know, the show's about fire, but they don't use any warm colors there, they use very cool colors. And also, this is one of the first times we see Shinra with a frown on his face in a serious situation. When he comes up to Sho and says, don't say that about their mom, he doesn't have a smile, he has a frown on his face, so I think that's a good indicator of how serious this is between them, because for the first time he doesn't get a nervous smile. And the final thing I really liked about the whole fight scene was it had a really cinematic feel. Definitely the animation was a lot different than before, and it was a lot different from other animes. I don't really know too much about animation, but you can just tell it gave a cinematic feel. And I also really like the spotlight and then the pillars with the darkness behind them, because it really isolates the battlefield and it really kind of puts you in the moment and shows you that this fight is all that's going on. There's only this moment for them. There's really nothing else, and I think that's really displayed by the darkness in the background, the spotlight. And finally, we kind of got a glimpse into Sho's powers and how they work. I think it's a little far-fetched that he can use heat to expand the universe around him and use it to control time. But hopefully if they go that angle, Shinra is going to be able to do something maybe not similar, but he's also going to have a really strong power because he also has an Adola burst. Overall, I think the strong points of this episode were the artwork and the cinematic fight scene.